As you know, the mountain terrain not only separates northern Pakistan from neighboring regions, but it also isolates communities of each valley, one from the other. And yet, as word of the restoration spread, people in other villages began to ask, how can we share in this work? It was a heartening example of regional cohesion growing out of cultural diversity. Another complex illustration is found in India. Our major restoration project in Delhi was conceived in 1997, marking the 50th anniversary of Indian independence. It focused on a proud historical symbol, the gardens of the tomb of the Emperor Humayun. The project combined disciplines such as archaeology, conservation science, soil analysis, stone carving, and hydraulic engineering, drawing as well on local artisanal skills. As a result, the special grandeur of past centuries is today part of public life. The life of the neighborhood has also been revitalized. Important initiatives in health, education, and sanitation grew out of our quality of life assessments, and we continue to monitor quality of life indices through baseline studies on a regular basis. The most recent news from India has also been encouraging. The government there has approved the creation at the redeveloped complex of an interpretation center designed to make its complex story more accessible for residents and visitors. The Delhi project extends over an area of some 100 hectares, 3 times the scale of the Cairo project. It is our largest development to date, and we have deliberated about its scale. Clearly, some projects will be too small to be worthwhile, but it is possible for projects to get too big, to become unmanageable, or to collapse under their own weight. What is always needed is a keen sense of proper scale. Let me move on. Complexity has been another central watchword for the historic city projects. In the country of Mali, for example, the restoration of the great mosque of Mopti involved close collaboration at all levels of government. It also drew on a wide range of professionals and craftspeople, architects and masons, plasterers, metal workers, electricians, and potters. Meanwhile, social inputs again complemented the construction work, including water and sewage networks, vocational training, and again, microfinance initiatives. The Great Mosque of Mopti is one of 3 ancient mud mosques that were restored in Mali, along with those at Djenné and Timbuktu. And yet another nearby project, the new Bamako National Park, is already receiving 500,000 visitors a year. I cite these examples: Cairo, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Zanzibar, Delhi, and Mali as case studies from our experience. I could mention as well the restoration of 3 ancient citadels in Syria, the forthcoming rehabilitation of Nairobi Central City Park in Kenya, as well as the Korok City Park in Tajikistan, and other projects from Mostar to Samarkand. For all of these journeys, the development process has been long and complex, but filled with stimulating lessons. Let me briefly summarize 5 minutes. First, these cultural projects depend upon an ethic of partnership. This means the traditional separation between public and private domains must be set aside. The concept of public-private partnership is an essential keystone for effective cultural development. The role of governments, including municipalities, is fundamental in providing what we term an enabling environment. But the public sector cannot do this work alone. A creative mix of participants is needed. Corporations and development agencies, foundations and universities, individual donors, faith communities, and local community groups. I have one more comment to make about partnerships. It is absolutely essential that effective partnerships are maintained throughout the life of the project, including the post-completion period. And let me cite our own experience in support of this point. Of the 20 historic city projects that we have undertaken, only 2 have failed the test of time. But in both cases, what was missing was a strong partnership structure for post-project management. This discussion leads me to a second conclusion. While cultural development often begins with physical legacies, planning must focus well beyond the cultural goals. We cannot somehow assume that a favorable social and economic impact will flow naturally as a byproduct of cultural commitments. Issues relating to the quality of life must be considered from the beginning and monitored throughout the project's life. The third point in this list of lessons that we have learned is that the engagement of the local community from the earliest stages is imperative for success. Cultural endeavors in particular involve risks that go well beyond external economic factors. Their progress can depend heavily on variable qualities of human nature, including the pride and confidence of the peoples involved. In any development effort, there will be a tipping point along the way when we see the glass as half full rather than half empty. These tipping points are more likely to tip in the right direction when attention to local confidence has become an ingrained reflex. And there is a fourth point that is also special to historic restoration projects. And that is the fact that we can never be sure just what we will encounter as the work of rediscovery moves along. There are many unknowns going in, and we must be ready for surprises. I think, for example, of how little we knew when we started about the extent and condition of the Ayyubid wall in Cairo, buried for 500 years or more. The wall, in fact, had been so completely obscured that plans had been suggested for building a highway over it until its remains were identified. In this case, as in so many others, the resilience and adaptability of all the partners, including the people of the local neighborhoods, was critical. And let me finally highlight a fifth lesson. Planning for such projects must anticipate how they will operate on a continuing basis after they are completed. In many cases, a permanent service facility will be put in place, a site museum perhaps, scholarly center, a children's library, a training workshop, a clinical resource or research facility. Financial planning must take these opportunities into account as a set of costs to be sure, but also a potential source of revenue. Upfront investment will be on everyone's mind at the start. But our financial strategies should include eventual income streams that will sustain the project over a long run. One of the least happy outcomes for any cultural initiative is that it becomes a net drain on the local population. And in this respect, I want to return to the example of Karim because I think it is very illustrative of what can be achieved. There, Al-Azhar Park not only provides important employment for the community, both directly and indirectly, but it also attracts over 2 million visitors a year. And with these visitors comes a stream of revenues, fees and charges for entrance and for special events, licenses, parking fees, retail sales, and so on. The result is that the project now produces a surplus of some $800,000 a year. That surplus is then reinvested in the same area, helping to ensure long-term sustainability. I have summarized for you here a complex array of information, hoping that it may spur attention and interest, especially in discussing not only the what of cultural development, but also the how. Whether it be in Asia, Africa, or the Middle East, in high mountain or coastal areas, in urban or rural environments, in peaceful or post-conflict situations, the case is proven in my mind that cultural development can contribute in unique and distinctive ways to the human aspiration for a better quality of life. And that, of course, precisely should be the objective of the post-2015 development agenda. Thank you very much.